A late start for this one. My apologies. I had to I go and play a game for the regulators tonight, which we lost. So anyway, I'll keep this evening fairly short because it is late. I want to be up here till 11 o'clock or something or other. It's a school night. So fortunately, there's not an awful lot to go through in the game, but just because there was just the 2 goals, so there's not a lot to look at in terms of things that set up goals. So I'm not going to go through them. I want to get you guys to tell me what happened in game.
I had a lot of fun.
Good.
Mate, did you get injured? Are you all right?
Yeah, I haven't broken it. It's a sprain. Like, yeah, I'm keeping it elevated. I can put weight on it and everything. So I'm fingers crossed that I will be there Friday. And if I aren't playing, I will be there to support you guys 110%. No.
Hello.
Look, say hi quickly. Say hi.
Hi quickly.
Hi. Yeah.
I'd go and get my dog to say hello, but she's asleep on her bed, so she doesn't want to have anything to do with us at the moment.
Yeah, and yeah, my myotherapist said that basically it's just a severe sprain.
Okay, well that's not as bad as it could have been.
No, 100%. Like when I looked at the bruising and when I got home, I was like, oh fuck.
It's never good to. It was just you basically just fell over. I think it wasn't a collision involved, was there?
No, there was no real collision. I just kind of slipped and my ankle caught the wall.
Yeah, it happens. The hardest thing on the ice is the ice, and when you crash into it, that's most often the time that people get hurt. So what happened in the game apart from a couple of injuries?
I got my first penalty.
Good, I think. What was it for?
Hooking.
Oh,
I
got a penalty today.
Yeah, I saw.
But it was just too many players. And it wasn't really my fault. It was a bit technical. But anyway, I got pinged for offside twice. But again, that was Normie because he drops the puck and hesitates. So I was playing wing. I don't normally play wing. And Normie moves his hand. He was reffing. So he moves his hand. So on the movement of the puck, what do we teach our wingers to do?
No.
Go.
I went. And then Normie hesitated. And I'd already gone. So I'm offside.
I feel you so much on that. I don't usually play wing and I got pinged for offside. Hoping it doesn't happen this week.
It happens. Offside there are cases and contexts where offside is okay. If you're trying to establish a gap and you're calling for a pass and the player with the puck doesn't pass to you, even though there's an open lane and you end up offside, that's okay. It's not your fault in that circumstance. It probably should have been the pass made to you. Because you don't want to stop if you're the player on the burst. It makes sense to maintain speed, but it doesn't always work out. If, on the other hand, you're offside because you're totally oblivious of what's happening in the game, it's different. And as you get more practice and more experience, you'll get better at working out whether or not you're offside. I was pinged for offside today in that circumstance as well, because I was bursting up the middle, looking for a pass and calling for it. Stick on the ice, nice big target, and the guy with it looked at me, and I thought, here it comes. And then he didn't pass it, and instantly I was offside. And it was too late to do anything about it. And then he passed it. It's like, oh, you can't pass me once, I'm offside. Anyway, it happens. So what else happened? What was the score?
Tie.
1-1.
We got it first. Good job.
Yeah, so it was a good defensive game, wasn't it?
No, a great defensive game.
Which is that a gratifying thing?
Close game's always a good game because it's a great game.
Yeah, it was.
I had a lot of fun through it.
Yep. It was for positionally, I think you guys played particularly well. What we're going to start doing for the next few games, Gus and I will start to give you less prompting for changes. So far, we've been, yelling at you, change, and when you hear it, you come in and you get your changes. But we want to start pulling that back. Now that gets interesting at this point in time because we're now coming up to game 6. And what do you guys know about what happens mentally after between 3 and 6 games to everyone who's on the ice?
Get a bit comfy.
Yeah, you get comfortable. Yeah. That stress of getting on and just playing a game of hockey is less. For most people anyway. Some people are still a bit wired at this stage, and some people never stop being wired. But you get more relaxed. As you get more relaxed, what happens to your fatigue level?
Goes up.
When you're relaxed, your fatigue level goes up.
Oh, down, sorry.
You get less tired, don't you? Because it's not that big jolt of adrenaline. It's not a nervous stress. It now just becomes more of a physical stress. And are you all sprinting?
Depends where you're playing.
It does, doesn't it? Depends a bit on where you're playing. What else does it depend on?
Who's got possession of the puck?
Yeah. Anything else? A sprint's an interesting thing. What does sprint mean?
Like pacing, like going quick.
Yeah, going as quick as you can, not pacing. If you run a marathon, do you run it at the same speed that you'd run a 100-meter race?
No, you start slow and hard.
You're a lot slower, don't you? So what a sprint, but pretty much by definition, is a short, high-intensity effort. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, maybe up to 30 seconds, depending on which particular sport you're playing, would be defined as a sprint. And physiologically, if you want to know the physiology of it all, essentially our muscles have 3 sources of energy that they use. Does anyone know what they are? Any of you done any exercise physiology?
Oxygen.
Ultimately oxygen, yes, but what are the 3?
Protein.
You don't really want to be burning protein.
I don't really have a clue.
Okay.
Fat and muscle.
Sorry, say again, Glenn?
Fat and muscle.
Okay, I'll fill this one in. You have 3 mechanisms inside your cells which provide energy for contraction. Because at the end of the day, all that's happening is muscles contract. That's all they do. They just contract and relax and contract and relax. That's exactly that all they do. And they're triggered by nerves. High intensity contractions are fueled by a process called ATP, which is a stored chemical in your muscles, and that provides the energy for contractions. And you have about 8 to 10 seconds worth of that stored in your muscles. It's not very trainable. You can train a little bit, but not much. And that provides about your first 8 or so seconds of maximum effort, like real maximum effort. Most people have never done a maximal effort. They're not. It's a very difficult thing to do. After that, you have a thing called fast glycolytic metabolism, which is where you have stored muscle glycogen, which gets converted into ATP, which is used again to fuel contractions. And once that all runs out, the only thing left is aerobic or fueled by oxygen, a thing called the Krebs cycle, which is this great big long complicated cycle of enzymes and stuff that goes on inside each cell, where oxygen gets inserted into it, and that metabolizes carbohydrates and fats to basically recreate ATP. Everything's fueled by ATP, and that will run essentially forever. You can do aerobic exercise effectively non-stop forever. Take a look at, for example, your heart, which is constantly beating, and that's aerobically fueled. So a sprint is using the first 2 energy types. It's hard work, and it leaves you in a state of debt where you have to recover. If you go for a walk, after the walk, most people who don't have some sort of a physiological problem can be fine and they don't need any time to recover from a walk. If you go for a 100-meter sprint, you're going to need quite a while to recover from that. If you train in the gym, anyone here lift weights? No one? No one here lifts weights? I'm the only one? I find that hard to believe. Come on, some of you got to lift weights in a gym.
Not in a gym, just at home.
Okay, well, that's gym of sorts. Are you tired after you do a heavy set?
Yeah.
You need time to recover, don't you? Before you can do your next set. You can't go straight into another set. Like say,
No.
sets of 5. I can't do a set of 5 and then do another set of 5 and then do another set of 5 if they're hard enough that set of 5 was actually hard. So essentially what
That's why you haven't been sets though.
well, that's true. Absolutely. So you try and build up your volume. Anyway, the mechanisms of strength training we won't go into right now. It's not really on topic for what we want to talk about here. But the point is that when you sprint, you use up your ATP, your initial bit of stored ATP, and you use up your stored muscle glycogen, and it takes time to recover. And you come in and your heart rate lags behind it. Do any of you play with heart rate monitor on? Sometimes, so there's applications on Apple Watches and some smart watches which track heart rate, and you can get graphs of them and that sort of thing these days. It's kind of cool.
I used to have one when I went hiking.
Yeah. So if you ever use one of them during a game of hockey, you'll see usually that your heart rate lags a long way behind what you're actually doing. And that's because it's playing catch up. You jump on and you sprint, or at least hopefully you sprint. And then your heart rate comes up after you've sometimes even after you've got off the ice, it continues to go up because it's basically trying to replenish everything by pumping blood and oxygen through your muscles to allow them to recreate the things that they need to do to go again and recover and repeat the effort. The point is, after that kind of long-winded semi class on a bit of basic exercise physiology, is most of you can't sprint. You don't know how. It's partially a skill thing, and it's partially the vast majority of people don't actually know how to sprint. Anyone can run a marathon or a half marathon with sufficient training, and assuming you've got nothing particularly wrong with you, and finish it. Maybe not necessarily very quickly, but finish it. People who race 100-meter sprints in athletics, people who race sprint bicycle races like the flying 200s and match sprints and that sort of stuff on velodromes, people who do Olympic weightlifting, they're all essentially sprinters, and it's a unique thing. Most people actually can't do it, or at least what you think is as hard as you can go isn't as hard as you can go. You're capable of going a lot harder, and for us, it's mostly skill. So to get back to the point, game 6, we're relaxed, we're comfortable, we're going to start extending our shifts because we're not getting as tired as we should be getting. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's because we don't know how, don't either have the skill or the mental drive, I guess, to actually sprint. It's hard to do. Anyone here done 100-meter sprints or raced bicycles and sprint, that sort of thing?
Way back.
Yeah. So
way back.
Not a lot of people have, because it's one of those things you might have done at school and then maybe you weren't very good at it, because most people aren't, and then never did it again. But in the gym, sometimes you get a chance to work out what's actually really hard, and usually the first exercise is something like a bench press or something like that, which is where you can work out what's actually at the limits of what you're physiologically capable of doing, and then try and do a set of 5, and then spend 20 minutes recovering from it. So we're going to start backing off on calling changes. It doesn't mean we'll stop altogether. We want to make sure you guys are changing. If someone's been out there for 2 minutes, we're going to bark at them, but we want to see if you guys can start doing that more and more. And you have been already, but we want to see if we can do more and more of you driving your changes yourselves and taking more responsibility for those changes than we have. And it's really a team discipline thing. But you guys have been doing it really well anyway, so we're confident that you're at a stage where we can do less yelling out change at you, because I think that'll probably just start to happen, which is good. Did we do changes on the rush on Friday night?
For the most part.
Mostly it was pretty good. Did we ever get caught out with bad changes and changing on defensive press?
Yes.
A couple of times it happened, didn't it? Did we learn from it?
Very much.
You can see straight away, oops, now we're in trouble, we're short. We want to avoid that. So it's very much a learning thing, which is good. Did we do any penalty kills? Can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Did they work?
Also, yes.
Yes.
Were any goals scored on power plays?
I think ours was.
Okay. How'd you do it?
And no.
Right?
No.
Okay. I can't remember. I'd have to go back through the video. So why didn't we score on the power play?
Penalty kill's too good.
Defense was too good.
Yeah, yes, that's true. But what can we do about it? Did anyone watch the Vegas
Today's game.
today's game, the Vegas Panthers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of penalties, wasn't there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's because of Kachuk.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah. He's a hoon.
It's so frustrating because he's such a talented player, and then he spends 20 minutes in the box.
What's that?
He's a hoon.
It's like, oh, why?
Yeah, Jen's home. Jen's in bed.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing a Zoom meeting for hockey.
Say again, sorry? Someone said something about Tachuk and I didn't catch it clearly. No? Okay. Anyway, so we want to work on our power play, don't we? Our penalty kill's pretty good. We want to work on our power play now and see if we can do anything. And that will be a bit of a focus at the next training session. We'll see if we can take advantage of that a bit in the next training session. Is it thinking about 2 or 3 weeks away? I think it's in the middle of July. Or the start of July or something.
On Sunday's game, I think the Panthers scored one of their goals off a penalty kill.
Yeah, short-handed goals.
I think the Knights did as well, actually.
It's more common than you'd think at NHL level. Have a think about why.
The other team, the team that's on a power play gets too comfortable.
Yeah, they get too comfortable. They get a bit complacent. Quite often what will happen is a team on a power play will run 4 forwards and 1 D. And forwards don't necessarily have a defensive instinct. And so you'll quite often get shorthanded goals in power plays. It's much more common than you think. And what's really funny is when funny, I guess, is a funny way to put it. But when you have a 5-1-3, so the team's got 2 players in the box and they score on a 5-1-3 penalty. It's like, oh no, how did that happen? Like a 5-1-3 is normally at elite level. It's a very, very good scoring chance. Because essentially all the defensive team can do is just create a triangle around the defensive zone and pretty much just mostly hope that the offensive team stuffs up enough. But there's been a number of incidences of, and I'll see if I can find a video of one just to show you, of a 5-on-3 resulting in a shorthanded 5-on-3 penalty goal, and it's great when it happens. It's quite amusing. Shootout, pinching, PK. Here it is. This was a Pro League game from last summer. I think it was the final. Can't remember. No, I don't think it was a final. It was a semi-final. Yeah, you should get a laugh out of this. So the Inferno they've got 2 players in the penalty box. They have to kill a penalty, and the Bruins have got 5 on. So it's a 5-on-3 power play for about 80 seconds. They'll have it. Watch what happens.
Mikey Jones is starting very high in his net. Oh no! The Bruins have stepped aside and let.
I was there that night.
Jeez.
I was like, yeah.
Oops.
They both thought that they had it, but like neither of them went for it, and then just
So what
came
went
through
wrong?
and bang. There I am.
What went wrong?
Mikey Jones is starting very high in his net.
Way too complacent.
Yeah, complacent.
They didn't communicate too much either.
No one called for
He
the puck. No one said fine.
just came flying up and bang.
And the guy just skates up into the prime scoring spot. Where's the most? Here we go. Let's look where the puck.
Yeah,
ends
they
up.
didn't expect him to come up too.
Look at this. Oops. Where's he going to take the shot from? That's just about perfect. The goalie's not even there. The net is
It's
totally.
right at the hash mark.
Yeah. Net is absolutely wide open. There's no hope. Boom. I was commentating.
They'd be
with
kicking
Ross,
themselves.
and we were laughing. We were trying so hard not to laugh. Anyway, it's more common than you think. It doesn't mean you want to go giving away penalties though, just because shorthanded goals are common. They're not as common as power play goals. So you don't want to just go randomly giving away penalties. It's not a good thing. You can give away penalties without doing goon stuff, like hooking, tripping, collisions, that sort of stuff. What are some of the penalties that are not goon penalties?
High sticky.
That's a goon penalty, whacking someone with a stick.
Too many people on the ice.
Yeah, too many players is a relatively innocent one. That's the one I got done. So that wasn't.
Leaving the gate open.
Um,
You nearly did that. You nearly did that in our game on Friday.
yeah, Dave Massingham used to call that one a lot, which is weird because I actually can't find a rule that specifies that the gate has to be closed within a certain time. He was wearing black and blue as it was, but I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it's the referee's decision. What else? Any other ones?
The goalie, if they go out, is it the trapezoid?
Oh, we don't have a trapezoid in ours, but in NHL, yes. Yeah, if you're playing NHL rules, you would, but we don't have the trapezoid in ours. What that is if you look at the goal in an NHL game, they have an area behind the net with some red lines, which is shaped like an extended rectangle, a trapezoid. And the goalie is not allowed to play the puck behind the net outside of that trapezoid. If they do, they get penalised. But we don't have that particular thing in. It's not in international ice hockey rules, and it's not painted on the ice at iceHQ. I don't think it's painted anywhere in Australia actually. So unique to the NHL thing, and the only time we've played NHL rules in Australia was the Pacific last winter. That was NHL rules, but slightly modified NHL rules. We didn't have the trapezium, and the fighting rule was a bit different. You still only got 5 minutes for a fight instead of being kicked out of the game. But I think if there was 2 fights, the second one was an automatic game. So you could have 1 punch up, but you couldn't have more.
So you'd really pick who you'd go after then.
Yeah, you'd have to say something pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's actually the whole question about fighting in elite level hockey is a very interesting one, because intuitively you'd think that people who get involved in the fights get hurt. But if you look at injury rates, and in particular injuries like concussions, there's less concussions, or at least less concussions that get recorded. It might not necessarily be the same in the NHL as there is in leagues in Europe where they play under the international ice hockey rules where there is no fighting. Whereas the NHL has, it's against the rules, but it's kind of allowed in NHL. They let the fights go, whereas in the international ice hockey rules, they don't. The fights are immediately stopped and the players involved with the fight are rejected from the game. And interestingly, to look at the injury rates in the two, the injury rates, at least as they're reported in the NHL, are lower. And some of the suggestions for why that's the case are that people are more careful because they realise there are consequences to them playing dirty, which is more than just getting sent off. If I do something particularly dirty to a player in the opposite position, someone may come along later on and break my nose. So there's a cost associated with it, or at least a different sort of a risk, which is perceived perhaps as being more risky than getting suspended. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a very contentious issue. It's certainly not allowed in our league, as you know. Are there any other penalties that you can get without being a goon?
Delay a game for intentional offside.
Yeah, delay the game. There's lots of different types of delay the game, isn't there? What are some of the more common ones?
Interference.
Is that a type of delay the game? Interference is basically getting in between someone else and the play when you shouldn't be, which is not a delay the game penalty. That's just a penalty. I don't call interference a goon penalty. You did it deliberately. And it involved colliding with someone. But you can delay the game in lots of different ways, and they're all a penalty. So what are some examples of that?
Intentional offside, or sort of clearing the puck out of the rink intentionally, so just smashing it up over the glass.
Yeah, where does that apply? So what Angus means by that is if you're playing the puck and you shoot it out of the net, so out of the rink, so it hits the netting above the glass, that's called a delay the game. But there's a bit more to it though, that rule, isn't there? Are there any particular parts of the rink where it applies and parts where it doesn't?
I believe it's primarily in the neutral zone, less so in the offensive. No.
You cannot be done for delay the game by shooting the puck out of the rink in the offensive zone or the neutral zone. It's only in the defensive zone.
Yeah, right.
So if you've got the puck in your defensive zone and you try and clear it down the other end, and it goes out of the rink, but into the benches is okay. You can go into the benches and that's fine. You can score someone in the head with the puck, and that's perfectly all right. But you can't
They got
shoot it out of
helmets
the
on.
net. So you can't shoot it out of the rink from defense. Otherwise, you'll get a 2-minute delay the game, and the puck gets brought back for a defensive zone face-off. But what do we know about defensive zone face-offs?
You can score off
You
them.
can score from them. They're great scoring opportunities. So that in itself is not such a bad thing. But the 2-minute penalty sucks. Most players, it's a pretty rare one in B League. Most players don't actually have the skill to flick the puck up that high that quickly. Occasionally it happens, but it's not very common. Any other examples of it?
If you just sort of
I don't think we've got it, have we?
happen if you sort of just sorry. It can sort of happen if you just piss fart around going back onto the ice for a face-off. So if you decide the last minute to make a change, you can get delay game for it.
Yeah, you should be. They don't typically enforce it at iceHQ. I wish they would, but they don't. So you can, in particular, at the start of games, we have that 15-second warning. We all get our pucks in, we're all ready to go, and we're all lined up, ready to start. And some teams still having a bit of a powwow over by their bench for another 45 seconds. They should be done for delay the game. They should get a 2-minute penalty and should start with 4. If one team's ready to go and the other team is doing that sort of stuff, then they should be getting penalised. The refs aren't doing it, which I'm a bit disappointed in. I've been kind of lobbying for it for some number of years now. But the refs, we'll give them a go, we'll give them a go, we'll give them a go. And all that ends up happening is you're losing a minute of your game that you've paid for. And I think that sucks. Any other examples?
Knocking the net off its pegs.
Deliberately, yes. If you deliberately move the net off its pegs, that's delay the game. Anything else? Can a goalie play the puck and can a goalie freeze the puck behind the goal line?
No.
No, they can't. So if you're a goalie and you freeze the puck, which basically means put your hand on top of it so that the referee has to blow the whistle and stop the game. If you do that behind the goal line, it's a 2-minute delay the game penalty, or at least it should be. You are required to play the puck. A goalie is also required to play the puck unless they're under direct pressure. So say, for example, you shoot it down your goalie and they catch it in their glove and then they just hang on to it. Right? If there's someone close to them from the opposite other team, that's fine because they're under pressure. If there's no one anywhere near them, they're required to play it. They have to drop the puck and then play it with their stick. If they don't do that, again, it's 2 minutes delay the game. Do goalies have to sit the penalty?
No, you send someone else off.
Sucks, doesn't it?
Zoe, the Southern Lights goalie, was telling me all about how she can go and bash people up and
do whatever they want, and someone else has to sit the penalty. Yeah, they don't get sent off.
As long as you can deal with a one-on-one as a goalie, you'll be right.
Yeah, it's a weird one, that one. But anyway, I guess it's because replacing goalies is difficult, especially in recreational leagues where no one has a spare goalie, just standing there ready to go. So that can certainly happen. Okay, defensive positioning, where we're marking up in the slot. I think we did that pretty well. Did our wingers cover their points? Yeah, they were doing that pretty well. Were we chasing in rebounds?
Little bit.
A little bit. We can work on that. I don't know if you saw it in that Panthers game, but a couple of the goals were basically players just driving in the net and picking up rebounds and putting them away. It's such a common thing. It's probably the third most common type of goal after a breakaway and a loose player in the slot is picking up a rebound. What do you know about rebounds?
Good scoring opportunities.
Yeah, are they though?
They're
Well,
kind of
off the
hard.
goalie.
Glenn? Someone said they're kinda and then got lost. Do you score a lot of goals from rebounds?
Third highest scoring opportunity.
Yeah, but is it a good scoring opportunity? It might be the third best, but is it good? How many rebound goals have we scored all season?
Most of them.
Darren had one.
I don't think we've scored any, or very, very few.
Darren, I'm pretty sure it was a rebound from his own.
Okay, well that's rare, but it does happen. The thing about rebounds is they're luck. Because the rebound has to go to where you are. You usually you don't have a lot of time. There's a lot of people milling around. You've got a congested area of the ice. It's essentially if you're in the slot with your stick on the ice, you might get lucky and get a rebound, but it's not common. They're much less common than you think. But that doesn't mean you don't set up for them because you do want to take advantage of them if you can. And that's where people who don't have a particularly good shot will get their goals. Park yourself in at the net with your stick on the ice and basically wait for a rebound and hope it comes to your stick. But it's not a particularly good scoring opportunity. Doesn't mean you don't want to try and be there for it. But if your game plan revolves around get rebounds, and that's your only way of scoring goals, you're not going to win a lot of games. Because the breakaways and the loose player in the slot, that's the main scoring opportunities by orders of magnitude more relevant. Again, doesn't mean we don't do it, but once the defense is set up, it's very hard to score goals, and it's essentially get a shot in there and hope maybe it bounces to someone's stick and they get to put it away. But if you don't shoot low and don't do that, you certainly won't get them. And there's enough of them that they do make a difference, just not as much as you think. How was our 1-2-2 forechecking?
Oh, we did a couple of 2-2 4.
There was a couple of 2-2-1s, and I think there was a couple of 3-2s, and there was a couple of 0-0-3-2s. So we're working on it. It's a really difficult thing to do well. It's just one of those things that every week, every session, we're going to work on it. We're going to hammer away at it. We're going to talk about it in pre-game briefings. We're going to debrief it, see if we did it, because it's difficult to do well. Not an easy skill at all. How was our communicating? Did we call ups and overs?
We got better at it as the game went on.
Yeah. Did we call time and pressure?
Yeah.
Did we call feet? Feet's such a big one.
Yes, we did.
Make a difference. Does it make a difference when someone yells feet at you?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know where to look. Oh, there it is. Got it. It's at my feet. Oh, because I had no idea. Because you're looking somewhere else. You're not looking at your feet, or at least you shouldn't be looking at your feet. And bingo, there it is. Were we calling for passes?
I'll take that as a no.
Again, it's a difficult thing, and sometimes it's hard to tell. But that's something that we'll continue to work on. If you're the weak side winger and you've cut across up the middle, you should have your stick on the ice. As soon as you see your strong side winger pick up the puck, you should be yep, tapping your stick on the ice, calling their name if you know their name by now. So they get that pass across up to you and you get that chance for that breakaway goal. We're getting better at it. It's hard. And it's one of those things that all the way through every level of hockey, you'll always hear coaches and players saying, we've got to communicate more, we've got to communicate more, we've got to communicate more. And everyone's like, yeah, and then they don't. Pulling your hair out. How can we get better at it? Because it's an eternal issue in any sport, really, of how can we get our players to communicate with each other in an effective way to achieve better team play. And it's hard. We're just going to keep repeating the same thing and hoping it will work, because I don't know a better way. Did we have a shooting mentality? Did we cross the line and think about shots?
Yes.
Yeah. Did we score many goals? No.
No.
But, we got shots, and that's good. How were our face-offs? Did we do defensive zone face-offs well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we do offensive zone face-offs well? Did we have a plan for an offensive zone face-off?
Bit of one.
Yeah, a bit of one. That's something we want to work on. The thing with the offensive zone face-off is we've got to be moving and trying to get into positions quickly, just like the defensive zone face-off does. It's a game of get into place quickly. We're going to introduce a couple of different plays over the next couple of weeks with offensive zone face-offs, just to kind of give you guys some things to think about. But it's really an issue for the centers to work out what plays they want to try and run, and then talk to the team about it, because we're going to start giving you 5 to 10 minutes before each game without us in the room. We'll give you your first talk, and then you guys can talk amongst yourselves before you come out to play the game. And at that point, your centers will start talking to your wingers and your D potentially, saying this is what we're going to try at this particular face-off. Keep stuff really simple. If you overcomplicate it, it definitely won't work. We're going to work on that with our centers and see if we can get a little bit of inventiveness out of those sorts of plays and start coming up with some creative stuff. It's the only time you get a fixed play in hockey, and you can do quite a lot with it. Something else I wanted to talk to you guys all about briefly, and this is a team philosophy thing. We want to, or rather like a rink culture and a rink sporting culture thing. You guys all know that there's, and I put the post up on Facebook today about the rules about alcohol at the rink.
Yeah, don't bring your own. You get one free
Don't bring
one.
your own, don't
Yeah, saw that.
get in the tailgate of the car park. You get a free beer at the end of most games, but not all games and that sort of stuff, or a soft drink or a water if that's what you prefer. It's not, we're not saying you have to drink beer by any
Do they
stretch.
actually serve soft drink at the bar?
Yep.
Oh, all right.
Certainly do. I don't drink, so I just get a bottle of water, which is one of those kind of wasteful things. I don't actually like getting bottles of water because you're throwing all this plastic away. But anyway, the rules are that you get a free drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, sometimes, and sometimes you get nachos as well if if it's a nacho game, whatever. The point there is that, and I guess this is probably a little bit deeper than just the alcohol. The rink itself is a very trusting environment. If you think about it from the point of view of, there's a lot of us there playing a sport which is quite risky. There's potential for significant injury on ice rinks, so we have to put a lot of trust in each other, and we also have to put a lot of trust in each other, not just when we're playing hockey, but also when we leave our bags lying around, don't we? And our sticks. What's a stick cost?
200, 300 bucks.
Yeah, $400, anywhere between sort of $200 and $400 for a stick. What's to stop someone just walking in there and taking one? Not much, really, is there? There's no security guards. There's no one standing and saying, "Hey, is that your stick?" People can, but there's a lot of trust with that. We put all of our gear in our bags, and maybe we leave them in the rooms. Maybe we don't leave them in the rooms. Who's supervising those rooms? And the answer is no one. Who's supervising? The borrowed equipment. There's a lot of borrowed equipment which gets pinched, which we're quite disappointed in, because it directly affects our program. If there's no helmets because people have been borrowing them and not returning them, like they know they've got the helmets, you can't take it home by mistake. A big bulky thing. So we put a lot of trust in the culture of the rink. We share equipment, we share space, we share a dangerous environment, and everyone, I'm not pretending for a moment that everyone has to pretend everyone else is their best friends, because it's not the case. There will always be feuds and stuff like that. But we have to have that level of respect about equipment and about property at the rink. It's quite a big deal. So we just need to make sure that we respect our property, other people's property, and also the rink's property. And there are also some issues with regards to alcohol in particular. If the alcohol rules are violated, the rink risks a $10,000 fine. Licensing rules in Australia are pretty strict. Like, say, for example, if someone goes up to the bar and there's no one there and they just pour themselves a beer from the beer tap when no one's looking, if the rink gets caught with that happening, they'll get a $10,000 fine because it's in breach of the liquor license. It's a pretty big deal. So we need to make sure that we don't do that. And if we see someone thinking about doing it, we suggest to them that we don't. We take a sort of a community response to maintaining good behaviour and not basically not pinching stuff. Because the $10,000 fine is one thing, but it's also, it's wrong to steal. So we just need to make sure that we keep on top of that. That's about it for tonight. Been about 45 minutes, I think. It's 9:30. You probably want to go to bed. Any questions about this Friday's games?
Am I in wing forever now?
No. With positions, as much as possible, we will get you to play whatever position you want to, and this for everyone. We're not trying to suggest to you that we're pigeonholing you in a particular role. If you want to try a different position, as much as we possibly can, we'll accommodate it. It won't always work because there's been a number of incidences where I've had like 9 players all wanting to play centre. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
We might have to share that one around a bit. And no one wants to play D. Quite often, a problem at the start of the season is we've got 2 or 3 people who want to play D, and everyone wants to play center or wing because I want to score goals. And it sometimes takes us just kind of reading and seeing how people skate around in the first couple of training sessions to say, look, you could give this a try. I think you'd be pretty good at it. And quite often we find that players who come through D end up quite effective, and we all know how important it is. Playing defence is critical to success in hockey. You've only got to watch the NHL games. Like, if you let lots of goals in, you've got a problem. It's hard to score them. So to answer your question, Tate, the answer is no, you're not stuck in wing forever. If you want to play centre, that's fine. If you want to play goalie, that's fine. We'll get the drill.
Oh boy.
That's up to you. Goalies are special.
I've always said I'll give that a shot. I'm happily no offense to Liz, she's great, but
let you in on a secret. It's much, much, much harder than you think.
Oh no, I believe that. Like I
wanna see that.
have respect for goalies, but I reckon I'm nuts enough to be one.
I hear you. And even though you think it's really, really hard, I'm telling you, it's 3 times harder than you think it is. It's
So it's not like boat fishing.
yes.
Like,
yeah, you're talking exponential. It's
It's
really hard because they don't get a chance to rest, and they have to keep getting up and getting down, and they're shuffling. And it doesn't sound like much, but it's
a lot of work.
A lot of work.
I used to be
Lots
goalie
of gear
soccer.
too.
Soccer goalie is not as hard.
Yeah, I know, but
Because 3/4 of the time the ball's down the other end, you just ignore it. Stand there and chat.
that's if your team's any good.
Well, but yeah, the hockey, it's the getting up and getting down again that's hard. You've got to be able to do this sort of jump from your knees, which is wearing heavy.
That's one thing. If I had the cash for the outfit, then I'd happily give that a shot. But
Well, next season, if you want. Lily's probably going to move on fairly early in this season, and we think that Hamish Allen is going to slot into goalie for the Hazies. It's still kind of in negotiation at the moment, but it's probably going to happen because Lily's currently playing for 2 teams, and she's gotten now to the point where she's probably a little bit too good for C grade. C1, that is. Sorry, C2. So she should probably move up anyway, and she's playing C1 for one of the teams. I don't know which one. And doing quite well. So it's probably time that she moved up. So we do have a gap for goalie for Hazies, which is probably going to be Hamish Allen because he's pretty keen to do it. We're just still trying to work out how that's all going to fit together.
yeah, sick.
But if you do want to have a goalie,
You mean Mac Daddies?
sorry,
I mean Mac Daddies?
what about Magdaddies?
I thought you said loose.
No, so Lily. Lucy,
Other one. They're both L's.
Lucy is a C2 goalie. So she's nowhere near ready to move up to C1, but Lily is probably ready to do it. So she's looking to move up, and also because she's now playing for 2 teams, she has to pay to play for 2 teams. It gets expensive. She's a 15-year-old girl with Dad, I need more money. Dad, I need more money. Dad, I need more money. That gets difficult. So I absolutely understand where she's coming from. So we're probably going to slot Hamish in for the Hazies, replacing Lily at some point in the next couple of weeks. He seems to be pretty keen to do it. We've just got to organise equipment and stuff like that because the gear's seriously expensive. It's not cheap at all. And there is rink gear, but whether or not it's available, different players, it gets borrowed in all sorts of different ways, and the juniors take it and all sorts of things like that. So I'm not quite sure how it works out gear-wise for goalies. Anything else?
Yeah, Carl, where's Hamish from, if you don't mind me asking?
He played for the MacDaddies until about 2 weeks into this season.
Oh, one of
Was
those
he
guys
the
got
real
ripped up.
tall guy?
One of the two. It was Hamish and Charlie, and they were both big tall guys, and they played for the MacDaddies, and they were the 2 that were really quick.
Yeah.
You remember when you played against them, like these 2, they're really quick because they're really quick. They're a bit random. Their read the game skills are still a bit sketchy, and their puck handling and skating skills are still a bit sketchy, but they're quick. So they were too quick for C2. We had to boot them up. But and that happened, I think, after the second week. We played them one game against either
It was us, the Hazies.
they played you in the first derby, and I think they scored.
We needed them against the big deals. We needed them against the big deals.
Well, the big deals have done the same thing. They pushed up their players who were too good. It's actually this season, I think, is looking like the most balanced one we've seen in quite a while, because every team has recognised fairly early on that there were players that needed to move up, and they have moved them up, which is quite good. There was a player, I think, who was playing for the Southern Lights last season, who'd actually played Div 4 iHV, who was playing C2. It's like, mate, what are you doing? He basically lied to get into their team, we think. Which is just kind of pointless. I mean, why would you want to do that? What's the point of playing against a bunch of beginners when you're, a mid-range player? It's not. What do you get out of that?
No, there's nowhere to go from there. Like,
Stealing lollies from babies is pointless. It's just dumb. But people sometimes do it. But yeah, so we moved up a couple of players. The Southern Lights, I think, moved up a couple. The Griffins moved up one, I think, and the big deals have moved up a couple as well, which is good because that's why we're seeing really close results. We're seeing like draws and 1 goal and 2 goal games, and that's what we want. We want it to be good, close, tight competition, and that's what we're seeing now. So I'm quite happy about that. Anything else?
not a question, but I'll figure out offside for Friday, girl.
You can ask now.
Tips on getting your gloves to stop smelling. I've been spraying them with some kind of thing.
You
But
can run them through the washing machine.
I
Yeah.
read somewhere that top loading washers are really bad, might rip them up.
Gloves would be okay.
Yeah, right.
I've got a front loader, and every now and then I toss my gloves through the front loader. But I squirt mine with isopropyl alcohol, which
Yeah, right.
you can buy at Bunnings, but it's expensive if you buy it from Bunnings. You can also buy it from industrial chemical supply places in 20-litre drums.
Hand sanitizer and water it down.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's
Absolutely.
literally what I've done, and I spray mine, then I spray it with a bit of Febreze.
Yeah,
my
I've been
gloves,
spraying mine with Febreze.
No, but the gloves, grab from Safeway. There's like fragrance sheets that you throw in your dryer.
All right.
They collect moisture and shit, but I throw them in there, and my hands come out smelling sweaty lavendy. They smell like sweat, but lavender.
Sounds a bit
Brilliant.
weird. But yeah, with most of you can throw it in the wash.
Yeah, sweet.
If it gets really bad, you can do what's known as hockey soup,
Oh yeah.
where you have a bath and you put them all in
Yeah,
the bath.
Jane was telling me about that one.
Soak them for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I kind of ruined one of the laundromat's washing machines by using it for my hockey gear.
The most important thing is to, as soon as you finish playing, get them out of your bag and air them out. Don't leave them in your bag. Take them out of your bag, hang them up somewhere, get them venting. You don't have to hit them with a hairdryer or anything like that, but get them out of your bag. Don't leave them in your bag. Absolutely smell like death. The most expensive thing is things like Ben20, which is just ethanol and water and some pollutant.
A bit of newspaper as well. When you finish your game, put a bit of newspaper in your gear. It sucks the moisture away.
Yep, there's lots of different tricks, but get them out of your bag. Don't leave them in your bag, and certainly don't leave them in a bag in a car. We had a girl who played for one of our teams a couple of years ago, and she would just leave her stuff in her bag, zipped up in her car, for a week between games.
Not making any friends in the locker room.
No one wanted to see it. It smelled like death. I don't know how she could put it on, to be honest, because it smelled that bad. And like there was this green haze everywhere she went wearing this gear. It was just putrid. Wash it, dry it, hang it up. Anything else, or are we all done for tonight?
Not Carl.
All right, guys. I will see you on Friday. Don't forget there is a women's pro game that's on Friday at 7:40. There'll be a ripper. The last game was really quite exciting. It was a very good game, and they're playing basically the same rules that you are. So it's a good opportunity to see elite level female players mixing it up right in front of you for free. It's great. It's a really good learning opportunity, and you'll see them making the same mistakes that we make, just faster. All right. See you on Friday, if not before. I will be at Mystic Park tomorrow morning, and I'll do the training session tomorrow night. And then I'm playing on Thursday at some point or other. Can't remember what time yet.
And there's a stick and puck Friday from like 5 to 6:15 as well.
Yeah, I won't be that. You can do that, but just be mindful. It's easier to tire yourself out. If you are going to do the stick and puck beforehand, take it real easy. Don't do sprints and stuff like that, because otherwise you'll have no gas left for your game. Alrighty, if not before,
Yep.
see you guys on Friday.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Carl.
Carl.
Hooroo.
Go.